with some sanitary department stuff coming up.
Okay, well, fantastic. Ravi, should we get started?
Yes, I think we have everybody in attendance.
Okay, we will call the meeting to order, and we passed around the sign-in sheet. We'll make sure we get everybody else that is here signed in. And I guess the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from the July 20th meeting. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve?
All right, motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, moving on to new business. We have some fantastic new business. We have a new OPED director,
Yes.
Lynn Wooden, and she, her former life was a banker, and of course I know her very well and have all kinds of stories. No, I'm kidding. So anyway, I'd like to welcome Lynn Wooden up. And Lynn, would you like to just introduce yourself real quick? Yeah. And come up to the mic, maybe. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think.
Live, yes.
Thank you, Mark, and yes, you don't have to share all of our banker stories. You might bore some people, but, well, first of all, I'm very excited to be here. I've been in banking my whole life. I've only really worked with public sector clients as a client customer, so this is all new to me. It's very different. I've only been here 2 days, 2.5 days actually. What I can say so far is our team, our current team, has just been so welcoming, and I've already spent some time with each individual and learned so much that it's taken lots of notes and trying to understand it all. But I'm really excited about the future. My goal is to, well, first learn everything that we do, and we do some wonderful things, but then do more, kind of what I did in banking, calling, getting out, meeting with businesses, being very proactive. So that's my goal, as well as learning the whole process. So it's nice meeting you. Some of you I know, and look forward to working with everyone.
All right, great. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Lynn while we've got her? Keep it simple today.
Next
Yes.
meeting.
Yes, exactly. Well,
Time to settle in.
well, thank you, Lynn.
Thanks.
Yeah, and all joking aside, she's been in the banking industry here for, I won't say many years, just a few years, but
Many.
very well respected in the banking community, and so we're lucky to have her with the city.
Great. Thanks,
Great,
Mark.
thanks, Lynn. Okay, Ravi, you want to do a little follow-up to the welcome guide?
Yeah, so just wanted to, I know there's a few questions by some commissioners. Leslie had emailed some questions, working through those questions, and unfortunately, Leslie is not in attendance today, so felt more comfortable waiting to discuss those, at our following meeting. But continue to, email feedback, suggestions. It is designed to be a working document, even though it is quite extensive. So please, I welcome any suggestions, recommendations, to it, and we can have a more fruitful discussion, I think, on this at our next meeting in September.
Okay, very good. Any comments, questions?
Did
Okay.
everybody receive it electronically? I did send it out.
I just have a couple, Mark.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Not questions. I've gone through the guide, and I think it's wonderful. I have a number of suggested, ideas, I guess, and I'm not going to go through them all now. I don't want to wordsmith it in public, but it's okay with this body if we just present our suggestions to you, and then for your consideration. There's only a couple, substantive things that I had. I mean, one thing, according to the code, it says that we are supposed to have a secretary from our membership, which I don't think we have.
Yeah, I don't think we do either.
You do, Mark?
Yeah.
So I'm not volunteering for that. I just wanted to bring that up. And then I guess the other sort of, I did a real quick rework of the purpose statement, just a little bit to clean it up. But, I think, and I think there's a couple of occasions where I thought it seemed a little confusing in terms of the code versus then what some of the process pages say in terms of our role. The code says you shall do this, 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 and this, and then you may do this, 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 and this. But then later in the process, in a couple of the process pages, it says sort of upon positive recommendations of this body, it goes to city council, which to me implies that you have to have a positive recommendation to go, for it to go to the next step, which I don't think is true. So, you know, again, I just wanted to point out a couple of those things. I just think that that can be very easily cleaned up with just a, you know, a couple of words taken out or something like that. But yeah, I'll just forward it to you
Yeah,
then,
that
Robbie.
sounds great, sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, excellent. Next on the agenda is the Enos Park project.
Yeah, so we have Michelle Owenby here, you know, who's been a champion with Enos Park, you know, and has been spearheading this project. So I want to kind of turn it over to her to provide some details, you know, on the project. As we know, there were some questions about it at our last meeting, so just kindly invited Michelle to speak on that as well. So thank you.
Okay, sure. So I don't know if you want a full recap. It's been kind of hashed out a lot over the last month or so. But my understanding is that originally the mayor had suggested using CDBG funds. And now, based on some suggestions from a couple of aldermen, we're looking at a combination of TIF and CDBG. And so Ravi had suggested that I come and present today and answer any questions that, that might come up. There was a joint letter that went out last week from Ryan McGrady and Abby Powell with the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, and we've also been working with the Community Foundation, the Medical District, and Downtown Springfield, Inc. on this proposal. So I'll just open it up to questions, and I can always go back to the beginning and give a recap if that's helpful, but I don't want to bore everybody if you're already familiar with the basic details.
Well, maybe if you can give us maybe the 1 minute elevator speech and start
Okay.
there, and then we'll follow up with questions.
Yep, I'll try to get it down to a minute. So Enos Park did a master plan in 2011 that was unanimously approved by the city council at that time. Unlike, you know, many municipalities that have a land bank, it's controlled by the municipality or the county. But in this case, we've had a volunteer group controlling the land bank since it was originally formed about 12 years ago. The first few years, we got TIF money from the city and purchased distressed properties, sold them at very nominal cost to people that would commit to fixing them up and making them owner-occupied. And even though they were being sold at nominal cost, that little bit of income helped us pay our overhead. We're a 501c3, but we do still pay taxes. You know, of course, there's maintenance, insurance, other ongoing expenses for these properties. So at this point, we've passed on about 50 properties to individuals to renovate. We've been quite successful with that portion of it. We still have 73 vacant lots that, again, we're responsible for mowing, maintaining, and paying the taxes on. And we have not received TIF money since 2015. So it's been 7 years now since we received any funding from the city. And it's just really become unsustainable for us to continue to carry these overhead expenses as well as the volunteers taking on the workload for it. So, you know, we're happy to continue to work with the city on negotiating with potential developers. We have a few projects in the works at the moment, and of course, are always looking for more. But having the city own the properties would, number one, it would take away the tax burden, which is the biggest issue for us, but also the ongoing maintenance, which again, we're all volunteers, so it seems like the city and their public works department are in a much better position. So the proposal that will be at city council tonight, that we're planning to have voted on, the city would purchase the 73 vacant lots from Enos Park Development. Nobody makes any money off of it. It basically wipes the slate clean, pays off the back taxes, pays off the existing debts to banks and professional services. And again, just allows us to move forward and continue to have some opportunities for large-scale development, because quite frankly, the alternative is that the properties go back to the county trustee. You know, the city still ends up mowing and maintaining them, but at that point, they're piecemealed off and you lose the opportunity for the large-scale development. That was probably more than a minute, so I'm going to stop now.
That was excellent.
It's a lot to condense into.
That was excellent. What is the purchase price of 73 lots? Just,
It's right around, I think it's $296,000. It works out to about $4,000 per lot.
Okay.
And again, there's no structures on these lots. They've all been demolished, wiped clean, and maintained for the last 10, 12 years.
okay, excellent. All right, very good, thank you. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Samantha.
I just had a quick question. At the beginning, you mentioned getting CBDG funds. I just want to clarify just for my own understanding, because there's so many acronyms for so many things.
Sure, Community Development Block Grant. And the mayor had initially approached us back in December, I believe it was. And so we spent about 6 months kind of working out some details with the city on what this partnership would look like. And he had initially proposed using CDBG. Quite frankly, we don't care where the money comes from, but a couple of the aldermen, for whatever reason, had suggested using a combination of funding. Again, we've said we don't care. Our emphasis will continue to be on attracting new construction and large-scale development, so as long as the funds that are used allow for that, which both CDBG and TIF do, it doesn't really matter to us how the deal is structured.
Thank you.
All right, Sheila, do you have a question too?
So how much CDBG money was put in initially?
To my knowledge, there has not been any CDBG
I
money.
mean, when you
There
when
has-
you started the land bank?
None from CDBG that I'm aware of. I know there were some TIF funds. Under Mayor Houston had approached, that's when our master plan was approved, was under the Houston administration. And he had initially approached us and suggested that we work something out to do an annual allocation, again, rather than a more piecemeal approach. And so we would get money each year. There was a 4-year period, the end of Houston's administration and the first part of Mayor Langfelder's first term, where we would get an annual allocation to buy, let's say, properties going into foreclosure or low-end rental properties, things like that, kind of the worst of the worst.
So how
So
much?
TIF money was used to acquire some of these properties, although not all of them.
How much city funding have you received overall from the beginning?
Don't know the grand total, but it was around $250,000, $300,000 a year. And as I said, I think there were 4 years we received funding, so probably just over $1 million.
So do you have a sense of why this project has not been successful? I mean, have you not been able to, how many properties have you turned around?
We have acquired somewhere around 130 properties total, and I would say that it has been successful. If you've driven through the Enos Park neighborhood in the last few years, you can see a tremendous difference just driving down the street from the way it looked 10, even 5 years ago. Again, we passed on about 50 houses that, in many cases might have otherwise been demolished, and they're now owner-occupied homes that have been renovated. We have passed on some of the vacant lots. We had a partnership with Habitat for several years, and they did new construction on some of our vacant lots. Where we have struggled is with the vacant lots in the infill new construction, because we know the appraisal values are much lower in the older neighborhoods. Your cost to build a house, whether it's here or in a cornfield on the west side, is going to be the same. The price of a 2x4, the price of a carpenter doesn't change. But your appraisal value is going to be much lower if you build a house in Enos Park. But there's so many things that have fallen into place just in the last couple years. The new YMCA, of course, was huge for us. The medical district has had a number of very significant projects, and I understand there are more to be announced soon. We really feel like the things are finally coming together. We'd love to see some workforce housing to help support the people that work in the medical district. There's a huge need for quality rental property in our neighborhood. We have very little of it. And again, by having, many of these parcels are contiguous. We also have a lot of parcels along 4th Street by the new Y and by SIU School of Medicine and Memorial, and we have a lot of parcels along 9th Street that are zoned for commercial development. So there's really an opportunity to do some larger scale things here as long as the properties stay together.
So if the city buys the properties, then does the land bank still get controlled by Enos Park Neighborhood Association or the nonprofit?
My understanding is the mayor has created a housing council We would have one of the seats on the housing council. The city already has a land bank, of course, and already oversees many properties in the city, primarily on the east side. And that the housing council would provide some guidance and direction for the city's properties as a whole. Again, there's a master plan in place for Enos Park, and there's design standards in place for Enos Park. So the idea, using 9th Street as an example, our master plan does not call for single-family homes on 9th Street. It's a commercial corridor. And so even though there were some existing single-family homes there, any that we've acquired, we have demolished, and we envision that being commercial construction. So I would hope that the Housing Council going forward would still try to follow the guidance of the master plan, as far as deciding what goes where and what type of development is most appropriate for the neighborhood.
So I'm trying to get just a sort of a yes/no answer. I mean, are you guys still in control of this then, if they buy
The
it?
city owns the properties at that point. I mean,
Okay, so then,
we would like to
then
have
the
some,
city's in control of
we would like to have
these-
some input, and we would like to continue, again, we wouldn't stop our efforts
Right,
as
I'm not
far as
suggesting you
attracting
wouldn't
new
have input. I'm
development.
trying to
but-
figure out who's got the actual legal authority.
But yeah, the city would have the legal authority at that point.
And how much in back taxes is there?
I don't remember, Robbie, do you have the spreadsheet
Oh,
with the breakdown?
trying to bring it up, yeah.
I don't remember how
You
it
pay
all.
taxes because you're a 501c3, why do you pay
That's
taxes?
a
It's
common
different
misperception.
kind of
So
tax.
just like Habitat, so a 501c3, you don't pay taxes on your headquarters, but
But
just
your
like,
properties, you would.
but you pay taxes on other properties, correct? And because we don't have a headquarters, we pay taxes on everything.
So Ravi, do you
Mayor, would you like to
have
say
a
something?
sense of what the back taxes are on
I'm
this?
gonna try to bring up
part of
the
this deal?
spreadsheet. I think it's on there, and I can get that information up in just a moment if I can get that spreadsheet up.
Mayor, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, just to try to connect the dots, give a little background with regards to this approach. We've actually approached Enos Park Development after the Inspector General's report, because what they said is, they did the right thing. They wanted us to go more in line with the strategic plan, which calls for this type of development. And so at that time, we talked to Enos Park Development about creating the land bank and then having them provide some input, because quite frankly, they're concerned, just like any of you'd be concerned about your neighborhood and what goes in there. They're concerned. They worked hard for a number of years to get it to this point, which is a lot better when they took it over. And so the reason we wanted to do that is so they wouldn't have to pay taxes. No offense to any of the taxing bodies, but it didn't make sense to us that they were, using the resources to pay property taxes when it should go towards development of projects. And so that's why, we approached them at that time, and then fast forward to today, and it's just gotten to the break point where it makes sense to move in this direction. So in answer to your question, we do have a housing council that's developed. It's already have appointments on there, a banker that's set by code who's on there. And so they would be part of that, but the council would apply the properties or any development according to the strategic plan that's in place right now, but also the future one that's being developed with the SSGA and Enos Park and DSI, the Community Foundation, the City of Springfield. That'll be the master plan for downtown and the Enos Park area and the medical community.
So I still don't think I've gotten my question answered. So are you saying that the policy was for them to not pay taxes on the property?
No, not at all. They just didn't have the capacity to do it.
Oh, I thought
But
you
see,
said
if it's
that we
under, if
decided
it's
to
under
move
the
in that
city's, if it's
direction.
under the city's jurisdiction, we don't pay property taxes. We buy, Sangamon County trustee. They
So how
take
much back
properties over.
taxes is owed on these properties? That's
Well,
my
we'll find that
question.
out, but just to give you an idea, we, Sangamon County trustee, I don't know if you know the answer, how many properties we mow, it's hundreds. We mow hundreds of lots. And so what this does, it puts us more under our jurisdiction, because otherwise what's gonna happen, they're not able to move forward, goes to the tax sale, and we'll end up mowing the lots anyway. So we essentially are the caretakers of these properties, or we will end up being. The benefit of going this direction, and Ryan McCready, I think, touched on it last meeting that I couldn't attend, but with regards to this, you're better off keeping the cumulative properties together for the planning process and implementing larger potential development than just having it piecemealed off to individual property owners that could buy it for investment properties. That's what we see. We see a lot of recycled individuals trying to make a quick buck and not taking care of the property. So that's why it's important we move this direction. But to answer your question, we can find out the property taxes being owed. You know, it's, if you're asking me to guess, I'd say probably $70,000. I have no idea. But, you know, it could be upwards of that amount.
So if we go in this direction, what is left for the nonprofit? What do you then still oversee?
We still have 3 properties with structures on them that are in the process of being renovated through various, we have an IDA grant and some other things in the works for those. And again, I mean, as the mayor touched on, we live here, so we're never going to give up our commitment to the neighborhood, and we would continue to work hand in hand with the city. You know, we have a lot of contacts with both individuals and potential developers that we've talked to over the years, including some very recently. And, you know, hopefully would continue to work hand in hand with economic development and with the mayor's office to try to get some of those projects going, because that's good for everybody.
So I don't have it, yeah, here it is. There's the 2 homeowner programs. Mm-hmm. Do you guys oversee those?
No, that's through the city. So
The
as I
city
said,
does that.
we have not received TIF money in 7 years, and I think this is one of the things that a lot of folks are confused about, because when you look at the annual TIF report, you see that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. That's not our money. I wish it was, but it's not. So we have not received any TIF funds since 2015. 2015 is when, you know, there was turnover with the city council, and the city went a different direction, which is fine. That's the city's prerogative. That's when those exterior homeowner rehab programs were created. There's a down payment assistance program that was created. I mean, those are wonderful programs that have been very beneficial to the residents in our neighborhood, but that money doesn't come to us. And just like the new YMCA, we're thrilled about the YMCA. We absolutely supported that project. It was wonderful, but that was $6 million of TIF money that went into the Y. So there have just been other things that have happened over the last 7 years, and the TIF money has been used for, you know, other programs and other projects. Again, all good things that lift up the neighborhood, but it's really put us in a bind because we have no regular source of income, and we're a bunch of volunteers trying to run something that would typically be handled by a municipality.
So Ravi, your department administers those 2 homeowner programs?
Yes, we do.
All right, thank you.
Can I follow up on the trustee? Sure. The Sangamon County trustee, properties end up in the hands of the Sangamon County trustee when the taxes aren't paid. And they're not paid for a variety of reasons, and they're not bought at the annual tax sale for a variety of reasons. So therefore, the trustee ends up with the properties. The trustee represents all the taxing bodies. So when you pay these taxes, if the city goes through with this and they pay these taxes, that money goes to the taxing districts of the Enos Park area. 65% to the school district, 9 or 10% to the county, 9 or 10% to the city. So they represent all the taxing bodies. The city maintains those properties because they're in the city. In the county maintains those properties. The trustee represents all the taxing bodies. In the village of Sherman, I'm sure Sherman maintains those properties. So it's a county issue, but it's not a county issue. The trustee represents all the taxing bodies. To follow up on where we are with Enos Park, I recall 3 or 4 years ago, you were in the same predicament. And it was at that time you went to a bank. But wasn't it also at that time when the city offered to do the same thing?
It was, but here was the challenge, because yes, the mayor referenced that. We initially started having these discussions several years ago. At that time, the city had asked us to turn over the properties to them, again, to avoid the continuing tax burden. We have debt, not only the back taxes, but as you yourself just said, we've taken out bank loans to pay off over these 7 years that we have had no source of regular income. We've had to take out bank loans to cover taxes. We have not lost a single property to the trustee, but we've continued to accumulate mounting debt. I'm not willing to just walk away from that. You
Right.
know, I gave my word, and even if I'm not personally liable, you know, this is a community bank, two community banks that have been extremely good about working with us over the years. Again, we owe money to an attorney, we owe money to an accountant who acted in good faith. I'm not willing to just say, too bad, you know, see you later. And so this time around, when the mayor approached us about 6 months ago and we had further conversations, we said, look, there has to be a way to wipe the slate clean. We have to make these people whole because they've acted in good faith for years and tried to support what we're doing in the neighborhood. And so that's how we came up with this scenario that, again, everybody gets made whole, including the taxing bodies. Nobody makes any money on it, but everybody gets what they're owed, and we start fresh without the ongoing tax burden.
Since the last time you were in this predicament, because I think 3 years worth of taxes were owed then, and they were going to go off to the public auction, and that's where they're going to go next if this doesn't happen. And they'll be sold off one at a time.
Right.
How many lots have been sold since you were in the same predicament 3 to 4 years ago? I know the property across the street from MJ's sold last year, I think it was last
Right,
year.
yeah, that one had a structure
How
on
many
it, that was a mixed use.
lots have you disposed of
That was a
since you were in this
mixed-use
predicament
property.
last time?
It's not a high number, I mean, I'm gonna say probably half a dozen or less.
Okay.
Again, you know, we could easily dispose of these properties to people that want to have bigger yards, but our infill master plan calls for new construction, and we feel that's ultimately better for the taxing bodies and the city. If you have a vacant lot generating $200 a year in taxes versus if you had a structure on that property generating a couple $1,000s a year in taxes, that's better for the EAV of the TIF, it's better for the property values, it's, you know, it's better for everybody.
How many lots are on 9th Street, the commercial lots?
Of the ones that we own,
Yeah, the 70,
of the
Three.
73 lots, I'm gonna say probably at least a dozen or more are on 9th Street.
so you got approximately 60 within the neighborhood association in the center of it, vacant lots?
Yeah, we have quite a few vacant lots concentrated along 4th Street, which we've always felt is prime for some type of workforce development, especially now, you know, you've got the Art Association, now you've got the new Y, you've got SIU School of Medicine, Memorial. We have a lot of contiguous land on 4th Street.
And most of those residential,
Right.
are they single-family or duplex or multifamily?
It's a combination, but I mean, there's definitely areas where it would be appropriate to do some type of multifamily development, and we've been having ongoing conversations with some local developers about that.
'Cause you know better than I do, but one of the concerns or one of the criticisms might have been that they don't want more than single-family
Oh, no,
dwellings
we'd
in there.
love to have workforce
So
housing.
you're looking for
Absolutely.
fourplexes, fiveplexes, six, depending on the size of the lots and
Sure,
such?
yeah, as long as
Okay.
it's appropriate for the size of the lot and,
Okay.
you know, appropriate I mean, we'd love to have senior housing on 9th Street, we'd love to have workforce housing on 4th. Those are all things that we've been actively pursuing.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one other question. So you've mentioned the master plan several times. I served on the medical district commission for, I don't know, 4 years or something. And I can tell you much of the development that has occurred along Carpenter Street by the hospitals do not follow the master plan at all. I mean, in fact, most of the development in your area, if I recall, not that you guys followed it maybe, but any of the other development doesn't follow the master plan currently. So I guess my question is, and I wondered this at the time when I was serving on this board, is maybe it's time for a new master plan. And what actually is the strategy moving forward if we go this direction? I mean, is it just basically paying things off and then we're just kind of back to, you know, where we're at? Or is there a new strategy?
Well, I think that's a great question, Sheila, but I want to clarify, there are actually two separate master plans. The medical district did their own master plan in 2002, and you are absolutely correct that most of the new development has not followed the med district master plan. And that's because, again, there's no land bank, there's no, I mean, yes, there's the Middle Illinois Medical District. You and I have both served on that, and we know, you know, how effective or ineffective it's been. Hopefully things are starting to get better there, but the medical institutions have pretty much done their own thing, and there's nothing to prevent that. That's exactly what we're trying to avoid. If we keep all of these properties together and the city has control, it will be much easier to make sure that some sort of comprehensive plan is followed, as opposed to them just being sold off piecemeal, you know, for people to do whatever they want. That, I don't think the problem is our master plan. Our master plan has been followed when it comes to rehab of the existing properties. And when we get to the point of new construction, as long as these properties are kept intact and under some sort of centralized control, you know, it doesn't make sense to invest a lot of time and money and energy in a master plan and then completely disregard it, which is pretty much what's happened with the Med District Master Plan, because there is no central organizing entity.
Thanks for clarifying that. You're right. There's a different,
Yeah,
you're
two
talking about
different
a
master
different
plans.
master plan. It's just for the residential and, or just for the Enos Park piece of it.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
The Med District Plan spoke to the need for strong connected neighborhoods, but it didn't go into any details about how that was supposed to happen. So that was actually one of the reasons that we followed through with doing our own master plan.
Yeah, I thought they were kind of connected, but yeah.
Theoretically, they should be.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, Michelle, thanks for
Right.
giving us
Can
an
I just ask a
update.
process question? I mean, where is this in the process with city council?
We intend to call it for a vote tonight. It's currently being held in committee. It was fairly recently that the other organizations, you know, the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, the Med District Community Foundation, and DSI officially came on board, and so we wanted them to give them a chance to make some of their own contacts with the aldermen. So now that that's been done, we'll see how it shakes out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
So I just have a question then, not for you, Michelle. So is this TIF and, so now what is city council voting on?
They're voting on the acquisition right now. by
And
the
why,
city.
so I guess back to my original question. Why is this coming to us the same day or the day at, when is city council, when did she say?
Tonight.
Tonight.
Tonight. Was it pushed to Wednesday?
Yes, because last night was National Night Out.
Oh, okay. So again, I mean, you know, I guess I'm just never clear as to why these things come to us sort of as kind of an afterthought, almost.
Yeah, on this one particularly, it was just the meetings were back to back from our previous commission meeting to this one. And so it was a timing issue, along with, at this time, you know, we haven't completely shored up exactly where the funding is gonna come from. So that, they will have to come back to this body, you know, to seek that.
So if there is TIF funding, if there is a TIF funding request, it will come back through this body and then back through city council?
No, it wouldn't go back through city council. We would shore up exactly where the funding would come from.
Yeah, Mayor, please.
Thank you.
I
Originally,
mean, you know I
the-
bring this up every time.
Oh, yeah, appreciate it.
So, yeah,
Adds
I'm
clarity.
sure you
That's
do.
good. Originally, we thought it would come from CDBG, but you only can use it for low mod income individuals, so the property has to be tracked that way. So in the discussion with city council, there's thoughts of coming from TIF or other areas, even ARPA funds mentioned, corporate funds, so that's why we thought we'd bring it here, since it's still in committee, and I think it was brought up at the last meeting that you'd like to hear things instead of reading about them, so there is that possibility that the council could take action tonight, and part of that would be TIF, or could be TIF, and so that's
But this
right-
presentation was not presented for us to take action.
No, yep. So it's just more for information as far as that goes.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you'd like to take action, you can, but, you know,
Well,
that's.
I thought we're supposed to take action.
Right.
I mean, that's my point. is,
Right.
You know, if we're supposed to, and that's why we're here,
I don't
then
know
I
if it
don't
was on the
understand
agenda
why
as- yeah.
we're not.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
more for information, because it's coming down the pipe. Will come out tonight, hopefully so, but if not, you know, you can take action at the next meeting, or you can do it now, or whatever the
What
commission.
would be the point of taking action after the city council has already either taken action?
No, I'm saying if they don't take action.
they don't
If you
take
want to weigh
action.
in on it, you
Okay.
could. Or you can feel free to do it today if it was on the agenda that way. If it wasn't on the agenda that way, then, yeah.
It's on the
up to
agenda
body.
just under new business. It just says Enos Park Project.
Yeah, so that
So I
you
don't-
could take action if you so choose.
Well, and this, I guess, comes back to some of my points earlier too, is I wouldn't feel comfortable taking action because I have not seen, all I have is a verbal presentation, and it was very good, Michelle, thank you, but, so I wouldn't feel comfortable taking action. Which kind of brings us back to, I know, Ravi, you and I were talking a little bit about the timing of meetings earlier today, and to this point, I think that there is some value to having this meeting timed right, and forgive me for my ignorance of, I don't follow committee enough, or council enough to know the first reading, and then it's in committee, and then it's, that's a little bit foreign to this, to a non-bureaucratic person. So, but it seems to me it'd be important to have the timing of this meeting to fall at the right place in that cycle, so that then we aren't doing what Sheila's talking about right now of we're just, I don't know what, I don't know what our purpose is. So can you speak to that about what day you were thinking made more sense? And then I'd just be curious if other people think that's the case.
Yeah, currently our meeting is on the first, Wednesday of every month. And that follows the city council first reading of an ordinance, of that previous Tuesday. So it may behoove the commission to time it, to possibly move the meeting time and date to the second Wednesday of the month, where it would actually be more of the debate agenda, and then the following would be when that following Tuesday would be when city council would then vote. So there would be a more adequate time for the commission to discuss, vet, and not be, to Commissioner Stock's point, Stock Smith's point, that, we're not retroactively approving things or ex post facto. This would neatly fall within that time for an ordinance to be passed.
So are you suggesting that an item would go to the debate agenda and then it would come to us the next day?
Yes, it would be and then it could
Shouldn't
be
it go
voted
to
on.
us first before it goes to the debate?
Well, it could be worked out either way. It's just the timing that it alternates. So the first Wednesday of every month will always be city council. The next one will be committee of the whole, and then the following will be that third. So perhaps to accommodate the commission in the timing of the projects, may want to move the meeting date to that second.
But I think that, actually the way we have it is better, because then we're weighing in on something before it goes to committee of the whole. And generally, things that come out of these types of things do get debated at committee of the whole. They don't just get put on debate agenda. I mean, they get fully debated. Mm-hmm. And so again, if we're supposed to be providing advice and counsel, or whatever the wording is from this body, it seems like we should be doing that before the full debate unfolds. And I agree with you, at the very least, before it's finally voted on the next week. But if we have it as it is on first reading, there hasn't really been any debate yet. It's been put on first reading, it's official, it's in the process. To me, it sounds like that's a better place for us to be.
So is tonight debate? Is that what tonight is?
They
Yeah,
pushed it.
tonight,
so-
Tonight.
for this, it's
Committee
in
of the
committee.
whole.
But Treasurer Alio's correct, and Sheila's correct, and Robbie's correct. What you're trying to do is get it to the committee as a whole, or when it's after the first reading of city council. So your window would be the Wednesday after city council to the Monday before that Tuesday. So it'd be before the second Tuesday.
So the second Tuesday is first reading?
Yeah, but you always have that we have the two council meetings, so we have two first readings. So you're going to always, there might be the chance of missing an opportunity to weigh in on projects.
It seems to me kind of though, like with today, it's kind of just an odd coincidence with timing, since city council's moved to today when it normally would have been yesterday.
But is yesterday first reading, or is yesterday, today's meeting, is that
Tonight's
committee of
first
the
reading.
whole? It's just first reading, okay, so, all right, I
Yes,
got it.
normally we
I
would've
thought
done
it
that
was,
after
I
that.
thought this was the second, okay, so then that's fine, then that would make sense.
And so now I'm thoroughly confused. So I agree. I think that, as Joe said, we should discuss it here before it goes to debate. Is that right? And then, so what day is that? That's
Yeah,
where
so
I'm-
it'll be Tuesday, so like Mayor had suggested that if we could show up that window from the first reading to that second week, the committee of the whole, perhaps changing the date, instead of Wednesday, doing it maybe on a Monday or the Tuesday of the day, to do that. So that way we don't miss the debate agenda or the chance that the committee or the council will vote, on that particular item. So-
Okay, and so what day of the month is that?
So that would fall on it would be alternating Tuesdays. So if we bring up the calendar, it would be between that Friday before the first reading of the month, that first Tuesday. From that Friday to that Tuesday would be the window.
Okay.
I think a lot of it also depends on the timing of the project, the timing of when your office is going to push it out. We can meet on the last Friday of the month, and if we get stuff before a council meeting, it all depends on timing. And when it gets pushed to us, we're kind of that advisory board that should look at things and advise the mayor. Mayor, I don't need the history of this board, how it got appointed, and who's been on it and who's been removed, but we're the advisory board, the sounding board, and things are supposed to come to us prior to council and debate at the cities, similar to planning and zoning and other things, I would think. But we're not as technical as them. But I think one of the things that we agreed to is that anything that TIF related, any TIF spending should come here first before it gets approved by the council. That was something we agreed to also. So, we're that advisory board. We should see it before it goes to the city council, goes to debate. That's my perception of things. If I'm wrong, correct me.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And so what I'm trying to figure out is what is that day, because I'm still confused.
Yeah.
So if we pick a Wednesday, what is that day?
If we pick a Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month would be following the first reading. So Wednesday is
Which
not
is
a good
what we-
day.
But that's what we've got. I mean, first reading, there's no debate or anything. It's just read into the record.
Right. But again, it would be the alternating time where the project may not come before, depending on the timing of the city council meeting. So every alternating, there may be a week where that Tuesday may not be the first reading. It'll be, the committee of the whole, because there may be a week that has five Tuesdays in that week.
So what you're saying is it may not always be the first Wednesday of the month.
In terms of when, to Commissioner Elio's point, in terms of when we would push a project out, we want it timed, appropriately so that it is viewed here. I think the best timing would be what we currently have, but unfortunately, the timing of this particular project was an anomaly in that instance.
So if we keep it as is, as the first Wednesday of the month, I'm hearing you say that would be the most ideal.
Yes,
Is that what I'm hearing?
yes, in terms of timing, what we have right now.
Okay.
So we're holding out hope that the new executive director will push things out in a more timely manner to us. Is that correct?
That's
Yes,
right.
just say yes.
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I appreciate all that and the clarity, and again, I know I've voiced this as well, and I think we all feel it, that, we would, well, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, our role should be to be that advisory, and if that's not it, then I don't know what our role is.
Right.
And, I love hearing about the projects, but I can watch city council.
Right.
So, okay. Any other thoughts or comments on that? Okay, very good. Let's see, we have, do we have something else that we need? or-
Yeah, we also have in the public right now, we have David Mitchell, who's representing Good Homes LLC. That, I know there were some questions from the commissioners regarding that project at our last meeting. David will be in attendance in tonight's city council meeting for the zoning in regards to the Wyndham project. So if David would like to come up, and briefly go over the project, if there's any questions, on this project, David can vet those.
And maybe just to also clarify, you mentioned with Good Homes, is that,
Yes.
just a
David
little
can
bit
go
of
in-
clarity?
Yeah, David
This
can
group may or
clarify.
may not be fully aware of
Yes.
everything, so maybe just
Yeah.
Thank you, Robbie, and thank you for the time. I thought what would be a good place to start is the last presentation that I gave to City Council, because I think it gives a good overview of the project, and then I will also then preview what I hope to present tonight. So if I can, I'm going to hand out the
Sure.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's right.
Not that you couldn't push it out in a timely manner.
So on July 19th, I had the honor of presenting our project, which is the redevelopment of the current Wyndham Hotel into residential and hotel. It's basically a mixed-use development. And I thought, as I said, a good place to start is where I started with the city council, which is quoting, from your very own master plan. And just one quote, which is that efforts should be undertaken to attract new residents to Springfield. Particular attention should be given to attracting younger, working-age residents and their families. And every municipality has this kind of intended and an important mission, which is to really provide housing that keeps their young people in this case in Springfield. And the overall county is that young people are actually leaving the county, and one of the main reasons is because there's no really market rate accessible housing. The second mission, if you will, of a municipality is to attract new businesses, and there again, part of that is to really provide and to make available housing so that businesses feel comfortable. I mean, every economic development officer of every municipality has Amazon and Walmart on their speed dial, and we've been part of three Amazon bids in different municipalities that we work in. And the first question that Amazon asks is, so where are the people going to live? The second question is where they're going to go to school. And Amazon, is smart in this, in that they know before they build a 2-3 million square foot distribution facility, is that they have to have a population and a workforce that's going to actually be in that 2 to 3 million square foot distribution facility. So, I'm proud to say that in Warwick, Rhode Island, and Cranston got a 2-3 million square foot and a 600,000 square foot accessory distribution facility at the airport. And we were part of that bid with Amazon, so I'm very familiar with how these large companies and businesses look at housing. And we were also part of Fairfield, North Carolina's bid to get a 3 million square foot facility. And, having put together our company after the last 2-3 years, I could tell you this market rate accessible housing that we built our company on is in vast shortages throughout the country, and Springfield is no exception. And maybe I should have gone back. Our company, Good Homes, so excuse me for that. Our company, Good Homes, is in the business of developing vibrant, exciting communities surrounded and cored around market rate accessible housing. We pride ourselves on our amenities of pools, world-class gyms, tenant lounges, game rooms, tenant storage, parking, and we really try to build a community that's vibrant and in some cases has provided a whole new neighborhood uplift. And we right now we're in 22 different geographic locations, and we focus on obsolete hospitality and obsolete senior housing that nobody else really wants to make an investment in, and we come in and we renovate and really change the use, and in this case, into residential. So, our mission is really to be a partner in Springfield, and our focus is in the redevelopment of Springfield and its renaissance as a residential hub, and also to be a partner in Springfield's core downtown activity, which is meetings and conventions. And so we've joined the Springfield vision that I just mentioned of really of creating housing and to attract new businesses and to keep its residents in downtown, but also its current mission, which is to be a partner in its meeting convention in business. And so that's the reason why this is a mixed-use development that we're very, very excited about. At the very high level, we've been asked in planning and zoning for a variance for 400 residential units. Originally, we said 80 of those units would be used as a hotel use. Tonight, we are speaking about something a little bit different, which is that we're talking about 300 residential units and keeping 100 hotel rooms in its current format, even through the construction, so not to impact the meeting and convention business, and to really refresh what is known now as the Wyndham. But everything that you see now when you come to the front of the Wyndham, the driveway, the hotel reception, and then on the second floor, the meeting convention spaces, and then above that, for 8 or 9 stories, will be the existing hotel refreshed, and it will stay that way for a long period of time. And then behind I think it's on Monroe Street, we'll be doing our gut renovation of the entire building for 300 residential units. We want to add to the crown jewels of Springfield and its long and important history, which obviously based upon President Lincoln, by adding an observation deck to the top of the building. This observation deck will be a stellar opportunity to start your tour or end your tour of Springfield. The observation deck, would look very similar to what is in Chicago when you go to the top of the, I guess it was the Sears Tower at one point, now it's the Willis Tower at one point. And in the middle of that observation deck will be a food hall. So, and we're looking to really enter the observation deck through the galleries of the Springfield Historical Society. So, as I said, it would be a really great opportunity to learn more about Springfield. And once you're at the observation deck, we'll be able to see a 360-degree view. And it's, I can almost see Brooklyn from the top of this building. So it's really quite spectacular. As I mentioned, we are going to maintain the meeting convention space on the second floor of this building. We hope to again refresh that space. It needs refreshing, as does the 100 hotel rooms. Our business, if you go down to residential, really is a combination. Tonight, the City Council will see preliminary plans for these 400 units. They'll see 100 hotel units, and they'll see 300 residential units. And it's a combination of studio efficiency apartments, 1-bedrooms, and some 2-bedroom opportunities. And what we see in downtown Springfield is a complete market which is very, very tight as far as residential offerings. Currently there's 615 apartments in downtown Springfield. When I checked this morning, there were 3 available, and that was at St. Nicholas, which is an income-restricted residential apartment building. And, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago in City Council, you have what every other municipality that I'm in wants. You've got 54,000 jobs, all within 1 mile of here. And you've got a gorgeous downtown, Victorian buildings, some deco buildings, some post-war buildings. But you've got this gorgeous downtown, and very few people live downtown. But 54,000 people work downtown. And really, the most, in my experience, and I think most urban planners would tell you, the way that downtowns become alive is through pedestrian interaction and dynamic street life. And if we're able to get a approval tonight, I think if you have 300 residential units downtown, probably 450 people living downtown and walking to their jobs at the medical centers, walking to their jobs at the state capitol. And all of a sudden, you will have new coffee shops, not just the Starbucks here at the Wyndham, but you'll have new coffee shops, you'll have galleries, you'll have all different types of exciting things happening at the street level. I mean, last night I went to dinner, and I have to tell you, there's very few food offerings in downtown, but I understand that. I mean, I was at a coffee place this morning, I just forgot, Cafe Mexo?
Cafe Moxo?
Moxo, and the gentleman was very much in favor of us moving forward. I said, what are your operating hours? He said, well, we're closed on Sundays. I said, why are you closed on Sundays? He said, basically because people leave Springfield, early, they come in Saturday night, or they come in Friday, or they come in Thursday, and they leave early Sundays, so there's no reason to be open on Sunday. And so I got my first-hand view of the offerings last night, and I think that this could be a fabulous opportunity to really revitalize Springfield. I was trying to come up, I heard a number today that the average tourist in Springfield is spending $115 a day. And that includes their hotel, that includes their, where they eat and what they do. So $115 a day, and if you look at the STAR report, which is the hotel occupancy report, to say on average is 50% in good years in Springfield. So that's $62 a day if you annualize it. Somebody who's at one of these, would be living in this tower or living in downtown Springfield would be spending, yes, $115 to $120 a day, but that'd be 365 days, not a half a year. So people living and working downtown spend twice as much as people visiting Springfield. And that's an important piece. And both, because money is money, both are very valuable. And you're an economic development council, so you have to understand that you need the marriage of both. And they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, I would tell you they're mutually embracing of each other. So just turning these pages, I mentioned the amenities. One of the benefits that we have in converting hotel properties is that we shine as far as amenities, pools, world-class gyms, game rooms, tenant lounges, and tenant storages, because hotels have a lot of that. And if I go around to the 615 units, and we do something called Shop the Comps, where I actually visited all the residential offerings in Springfield, and I could tell you that nobody has residential units that start at 20 stories. So, if you look, ours would start on the 11th floor. Nobody has an 11-story. It has units that start at 11 stories and go up 30 floors. So our views would be fantastic, and our amenity set will be fantastic. And I think it's a great offering. I mean, you have 250 hospital residents, people who have to do their residency in Springfield at your medical centers. These are people you want to keep. These are people with the future residents that you really, because they become doctors and you want to keep them. And, I know where they're living now, and that's terrific that they're living there, but I know there's a shortage. And can you imagine these residents leaving this tower, walking to work, which is a 2-minute walk, and then walking back and say, hey, this is a place I really want to stay in. They're residents, so the good chat. So, they come to Springfield, maybe they stay in Springfield, maybe they don't, but that should be a real focus, to try to keep these people, as they become doctors, as future citizens in Springfield. And if they have a great downtown experience, which we're suggesting that we could be part of, I think there's a good chance you might be able to keep them. I've gone over, my key page is the page that says location, which is really who the employers are and how many people they employ, a 1-mile radius and a 2-mile radius. And, I know that the way that Springfield is today, obviously a lot of people live on the outside of the downtown core, but I think the downtown core is your strongest hand. it has all the opportunity. And, you know, whether it's myself as a developer or other developers, this is a place that really could really prosper, not just from people moving from the west side of town to downtown, but really from attracting new businesses. And that's really the mission, right? That's part of the mission of this council, is to see how we can make Springfield more attractive to new businesses. And I think that the housing piece of it is a very, very valuable piece. In the back, you know, I explained to the city council who's going to manage the property. We have a manager, Pegasus, which is not unrelated to us, but they work for us. They manage 44,000 apartment homes throughout the United States. They're very excited to come to Springfield to manage this property. They are the right manager. They manage A-plus housing. They're the right manager for this building. And then in the back is this, some of our history and some of our portfolio. You know, suffice to say, we've done over $10 billion of development. Part of that is ground up, very complex, twisted buildings, renovations. Part of it is renovations of hotels into residential. And it ranges. It ranges from industrial, residential, government, academic, and, you know, it's decades of experience, not just me, but of the whole team into embracing complex projects. This is, you know, a complex project. It's a building that has a lot of deferred maintenance and capital expenditure. You know, we plan to make it probably the most environmentally friendly, hopefully the most environmentally friendly building in all of the state of Illinois. We're working with the city on a PACE program, which is really replacing all the windows, anything to do with energy, you know, whether it be HVAC systems, to make it the most energy efficient building out there, and something that we can all as residents and partners in Springfield point to as something which we're proud of. Tonight, I will speak to the city council and, you know, basically tell them about, you know, the 5 different residential offerings downtown, you know, the villas, the Lincoln Tower, Lincoln Square, St. Nicholas, and the Madison Park Place, all of which, except for St. Nicholas, have long waiting lists, people waiting in hotels, waiting to get their name off a waiting list, looking for an apartment. And this is, you know, largely driven because people actually want to live downtown, and people want to walk to work. So the 615 apartments, I mean, in my presentation tonight, because this was done last week, there were 6 that were ready, but they were all at income-restricted residences or apartment complexes. And so the need is great, and it's not hard to find out, you know, what low vacancy you have. I mean, all that's somewhat public, apartments.com, CoStar. I also will tell you that the bulk of units that are available downtown are much older, right? They date back 20, some of them are 40 years old, and really don't have the amenity set, and really, you know, there's nothing wrong with them, but I think that having a brand new building, and urban in design, just by the sheer height of it, I think will be exciting. I think people will be excited, not just to move from other parts of Springfield. That's not what we're talking about, but to move to Springfield. As I said, I will be showing different floor plans tonight of the hotel rooms and the apartments, and there'll be a slide in the back of our presentation that deals with the economics. You know, originally when we came to Springfield, before really meeting the municipality with their being really fantastic, we wanted to do 600 residential units, and because that's really for us, that's how many we could put in the building. And after spending time with the mayor and with Ravi and our Alderwoman Purchase and economic development and convention and tourism, I forgot what Scott Dahl's official title is, convention.
Yeah, Director of Convention Bureau.
And the Downtown Springfield Association, it was obvious, you know, that meetings and conventions are a core part of the DNA of Springfield, and so we've altered our plan, and we're excited to be a partner. But I want to, you know, one of our slides illustrates the cost for us of being a partner, And, you know, I think that these partnerships are important because one just cannot operate in a void. One has to operate with the community and be a valuable member of the community. So that's really, you know, kind of the preview of tonight, but also bring you up to date with what I covered 2 weeks ago.
All right, Mark, do you have a question?
Yeah, you're saying you're gonna have, studios in there. What are your price ranges gonna be for your,
We haven't really priced it, but if I had to, you know, we've obviously done a lot of financial modeling, but, you know, I would tell you that the studio efficiency is all the way through the 2 bedrooms. The range in pricing probably goes from $800 to $1,200, $1,300, depending upon the size of the apartment and also where it falls in the building.
utilities excluded?
Pardon me?
Utilities excluded?
No, utilities in addition to.
And what are you asking out of the city for this project?
We're not asking anything right now for the city. Right now, I'm asking for a zoning variance. But in the future, I will ask the city for a TIF that really will involve, as I understand, potentially a new TIF district. I don't know all the technicalities of how the city's going to do it, but a lot's being discussed. I know the city is changing its enterprise zone or its dimensions of its enterprise zone. And that's important to us because, you know, we plan to put $25, $30 million, certainly $25 million of hard goods into it. And so we don't want to be, so we want a sales tax exemption for those hard, for the hard construction and the actual physical product. And we want to work with the city on a PACE program. It doesn't cost the city anything, but you need the city's cooperation in doing that.
Okay, and you got relations with businesses may come into it, and you're gonna put stores in?
Well, I mean, our hope is when you have 400 people and 100 visitors, you could reactivate the restaurant with a third party. And, you know, I've met with some local real estate brokers who would feel very excited about that. So I would hope the grill, as I guess it's known now, would become a third-party restaurant. We're not in the restaurant business. I would hope that the stores at the bottom, you know, would join Starbucks into some more retail presence. Yeah.
Other questions, comments?
Yes. What's the purchase price? Have you guys come to an agreement on that?
Yes, but I also have a confidentiality agreement.
I understand that. Utilities, I hadn't thought about that, but you're gonna have electric, water, that's what the individual's gonna pay,
Yes,
in addition to rent?
yes.
Okay. And how much do you plan on investing in this building?
Oh, you know, I mean, the hard costs 25, there'll probably be $5 million of soft. I mean, it's, you know, it's not been priced out totally yet, but, you know, it's upwards of, together over 30.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 million or above? Okay. All right. I think that's, this is a government town. This is a medical town, an insurance town. It's also a union town. I'm just wondering, will you be using local trades on the
Yeah,
construction?
and we've met with the various representatives of the union, and
Okay,
we have an internal construction group, and they've spoken to the union.
okay.
And
All right, thank you.
Samantha, do you have a question?
Yes, so I was looking at your layouts here. Are these kind of your official, or are these just samples?
those are samples. I mean, tonight, we have a little bit more building drawings that we'll be showing.
Okay. Because I was just confused, in your one bedroom, you have two full bathrooms, which I thought was kind of odd.
Well, you know, we're taking hotel bays, if you will, right? So, you know, that's not this building, what's in there. Those are actually renderings from another building. But, you know, so when you take 2 hotel rooms, you know, and you have 2 bathrooms, why not?
Okay. And then you cited a number earlier. Sorry, I didn't realize it was moved
Me
over.
or?
You said a number earlier for how much a tourist spends here every day. the 115, I think it was.
Yeah,
Where did that number come from? Where did you get that
I'll
from?
give it to you in a second, I think.
Because that doesn't, I don't know.
The
to me that doesn't
115,
sound-
it was $115 to $125. I will, I'll come back to you then.
Okay.
1 second, I'll just turn in a second.
And then, just, I guess for my last question, did you speak to the SMEA board at all since?
Do what?
The SMEA board, they run the convention center downtown. I want to know if you spoke with them at all since part of, like, with the hotel rooms being reserved was for when conventions were assuming.
We've
I'm there
spoken
as
to the
well.
hotel, we've spoken to the hotel association group, and we've spoken to many groups, so it's probably, yes. Convention and Visitors Bureau says they use $115 to $120 per person per night as their calculation.
That's from our convention board?
Yep.
Okay. And you don't know if you spoke to SMEA? They're an elected board, that's why I'm wondering.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
I think that would be someone that you should talk to if you have.
Yeah,
not.
we talked with Mike Coffey, who's the chair. We talked to him this week
Okay.
about it.
And what did they say?
You know, everybody wants the 200 rooms, 200 hotel rooms, and so I laid out the options. Basically, what David had presented, one was to keep the units, the 100 hotel rooms, operational for, you know, keep them open, do a refresh, which would be carpeting, painting, and whatever, furniture, I think it was, and then do the HVAC throughout the structure and keep it open. The other one is, there's a request by the, Mike Coffey and others that it fly the Marriott flag or the Hilton flag, one of the flags, to upgrade it. And in order to do that, I'd allow Mr. Mitchell to speak to it. A flag is not going to put their signage on a building under construction, so it'd be better to shut it down in its entirety, and that defeats the purpose of conventions. And so the other option, of course, if it doesn't go forward, is it goes back to the current property owner. And he's basically said that he has an option for financing for 200 apartments. He's not going to operate the hotel side of it. He's just going to let that go because he's losing money, operating as a hotel. So that's the conundrum we're in. The Scott Dahl has talked to State House Inn to verify what conventions can be saved using the State House Inn. So they've matched up those dates. And then, but it really depends on tonight's vote, what actions happened. The current property owner's under a August 10th deadline to make a note payment. And so it's his intent that it would not go to a bank for receivership. He intends to keep the property and refinance it. And the refinance option that he mentioned was, like I said, operate as apartments. And he threw in there that'd be government subsidized apartments for 30 to 40 years.
Okay.
So David, I don't know if you want to.
No, I also spoke to Mike Coffey early on in the process as well. As I mentioned, I think the prevailing concern from Scott Dahl and his group was it was having no hotel rooms for a period of time. So we've engineered our means and method in our construction plan to maintain 100 rooms and really to maintain the entire presence of the hotel and the Starbucks and everything that you see full on, so that guests to the convention center and guests to the meetings and conventions at the hotel would see really no change. Well, the only change they're going to see is a refresh, right? And so we'll do the refresh as the hotel is operating there. But all the construction for the apartments will be done on the back of the hotel towards the parking garage in Monroe. And so we're trying to lessen the effect. Just as a point of interest, that's not the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is to shut down the hotel and just do it. I mean, it does come at a large cost to have the right protection and to the right isolation of systems and components and so on and so forth. but it was important to the city and to Visitors Convention, to Scott Dahl's group, and really to the Hotel Association, that the hotel had to remain open throughout this construction. So we've engineered that, and we'll be speaking about that tonight.
Does that answer your question, Samantha?
I think so.
Okay. Sheila?
So just on that point, you say a refresh for the hotel piece. I mean, my understanding is, and I haven't stayed in this hotel for a long time, but that these rooms need significant refresh. How are you going to keep them open and refresh them at the same time?
Well, refresh versus reconstruction or renovation means that you could do them, a number of rooms at a
Just
time, or a
piecemeal,
number of
right.
floors, a floor at a time.
I see.
Because it's, for all intents
So
and
just
purposes,
as opposed to
it's
closing the
cosme-
whole thing
it's
and doing it all.
cosmetic
Okay.
versus, closing the whole hotel.
Okay.
And so,
But but there will be a significant refresh then of the actual hotel space.
yeah, but it's also the lobby space.
Right,
It's also
right.
the meeting room space, yeah.
Right. So I did watch the zoning city council meeting with the zoning request that was denied. So I'm a little confused about the process. So you're re-presenting to city council basically the same proposal with the exception of 20 additional hotel rooms and not closing the building? Is that the two differences that you're?
I mean, I'm not an expert in Springfield governance, but I think the way that it is being thought of tonight is a reconsideration of the vote. I think the added information is that the hotel will not close.
Okay.
The added information is that there'll be 100 hotel rooms that are existing now, will remain open for a period, for an exaggerated period of time. I'm suggesting 10 years at least. And that will stay like that during construction. And the new information really is, that I previewed, is really as a result of many meetings and Zoom calls that we've had with city council members individually, and their questions. So I hope to answer it kind of en masse or in front of the whole council tonight. But I don't.
So do you feel confident you've addressed a lot of the issues that were raised at the last?
Yeah, I feel confident. I don't know, I can't say, because I don't want to I'm a superstitious person, so I don't want to feel confident about
I don't wanna
tonight.
jinx it.
But I feel confident that we've answered every question, yes.
There was an issue that was raised about the amount of money the current owner owes to CWLP. How is that going to be addressed?
Well, since I'm not the current owner and since I'm not.
But you're going to be buying it. Are you buying that too, or?
I'm going to let the mayor
All
address
right.
that because that's more his territory than mine.
Yeah, that's been discussed at, actually, executive session November 2021. At that time, he owed over $1 million. So it was agreed upon that during the refinance or the sale of the property, we'd be reimbursed for the utility usage, which is the water and the electricity, and we placed a lien on the property. So we have the lien on the property to secure our interest. The other side of it that has not been discussed is there's a telecommunication satellite or tower on top of the hotel that is our emergency communication tower. So, that's the other reason we kept the electricity on, because we have to have communication. But it will be taken care of at the sell or the refi, so if this doesn't go through, if the current owner refis, then that's when we get payment in order to release the lien.
There also seemed to be some concern expressed during that meeting that people don't believe that there is the demand for this. You seem to think that there is quite a bit of demand from what you're saying, and you're willing to put in $30 million to do so. I mean, why do you think that is? That the perception from those of us in Springfield is that, you're not going to fill these rooms.
Well, why do I think that the city council didn't think there was a demand. I mean, I think the city council, because let me address it three ways. I don't think that anyone on the city council currently lives in a rental apartment downtown. I don't think that I think it's probably been a while since I looked, if at all, for rental apartments downtown. And if they looked for a rental apartment downtown today, they would not find one. Okay, so that's one kind of footnote. The second is that I know there is demand from the different components of employers that you have, whether it be Horace Mann, whether it be the medical centers, or whether it be government. I mean, so, there's 54,000 jobs, right? I'm really looking for this 300 of those people, and there's 54,000. I mean, so from an equation point of view, it's not a large percentage of the market that I'm looking for. But, you have 200, 250 medical residents that are young, that come from across the United States and the state. They're just a few blocks away from their employment. They're people that need to be near the medical centers just by their employment contracts. Whether it be medical professionals, they have to be close by. And so there is an innate demand. I mean, just by just the fact of what people do. And so, I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question, because the question could be answered both ways. So I'm trying to answer both ways. I think the city council looks at it and said, personally, they don't know of a demand, but I do think the demand is.
But I guess my question is more, you think there's a demand?
Yes.
You wouldn't be doing this,
Yes.
right? I mean, because you're a
sure.
businessman. You're not doing this because you love Springfield and you want to be,
No, I do love
You want to
Springfield.
be a partner in Springfield, that's great, but you're doing this because you want to make money. I mean, bottom line.
All correct. I love Springfield,
Which
I
is,
want to make money.
I'm not making, that's a good thing, that's all part of this. So I guess I'm just, yeah, I mean, we've
Even though I
had,
offered the mayor that we should switch to jobs tonight, He said after he's termed out, I could run, so.
well, there have been stranger things in Springfield politics, so. I personally, I like the fact that you have this vision, and I think it's an exciting project for Springfield. I think if you guys can make this work and answer a lot, some of the, I think, legitimate concerns that are out there, I don't know. I was just recently in Chicago, and I was at the Pendry Chicago Hotel, and right across the street, they just built a building that was, 40 stories high or something. It's all glass. And there was, you look into the rooms, and there's bedrooms and stuff. And I said, oh, is that a hotel? And they said, well, yeah, it's a hotel, but it's half of it's hotel, half of it's residential. So, I mean, that's exactly the model that you're presenting. And again, we're not Chicago, we understand that, but these are the kinds of models that are being used to revitalize areas all over the country.
And I appreciate you pointing that out, because it is a model. The difference is that in order to build new construction, like that glass and steel building that you saw, your rents would have to be so significantly higher. The reason, we exist in this nexus of abundant, obsolete hospitality assets and senior assets that were built 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I think this one's 48 years old, and that are obsolete. But they're obsolete to no one's going to put money into that building as a hotel, right? And because they're new hotel models. And the money that would have to go into it to renovate the hotel, you would never get the return. Same fact is if you had to build a 30-story apartment building, you would never get the return. If you had to build a 2-story apartment building today, you cannot do so and be at the same rental rates that I'm at.
Right.
Because you just can't get the return. And that's with construction prices where they are now. Construction prices only go up. And they're going to go up even more. I mean, they're going to be supply chain shortages that are predicted. There are all sorts of factors. So, for us, I mean, this is the ultimate environmental step, right? It's a reuse of an existing structure, which actually is part of your overall comprehensive plan, is to reuse existing structures for this purpose. But for us, this is the most beautiful thing ever, right? Because 95% of what we would have to build is already existing. Steel, concrete, floors, elevators, all of that is already there. And, I mean, not to say that the rest of it's not complex, but, but to take this and really bring it so it looks like as a gleaming new structure, is really our mission as far as the technical piece. The other piece is that we want to build a community. Yes, it's about making money, and it's about loving people, but the most exciting thing is when you actually have people who are living, working, and enjoying a community. That's exciting, because then you really jumpstart a neighborhood. In this case, you're going to jumpstart a whole downtown. I mean, from a developer's point of view, that's really the turn on.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
A real quick follow-up to clarify. I think you were replying to one of Commissioner Smith's questions about the 100 rooms. I think you said something about an exaggerated 10-year plan. What did you mean by that?
Well, tonight, part of our conversation with the city is that these will be committed as a refreshed hotel for a period of 10 years. And in 10 years, we'll make a decision whether they'll be guaranteed as hotel rooms for 10 years.
For 10 years, and after that, there's no guarantee.
After that, we'll have an option to either convert them into residential or to keep them as hotels.
So eventually, it could be all residential.
Hopefully, hopefully as a city, you've done your job and attracted new hotels. Because I always hear about the county land over here and about how this could be a hotel and this could be a hotel, but we need more runway. I mean, I think Scott Dahl actually referenced that in connection with your sports initiative, that was going to attract new hotels. And I think the comment was, I wish that this was happening 2-3 years from now, because by then we would have new hotel commitments. So I think that, what you really want, I mean, I'm not telling you what, I want to phrase this, I don't want to come across brash, all right? But what you really want, just collectively, what you really want is just to be a huge, successful, a residential community, but also with at 100 rooms refresh. What you really want is two things. You want other developers to come and say, hey, look what's happening in Springfield, both from a residential developer point of view, but also from other hoteliers coming and saying, it's a revitalized hotel market. They got the sports thing going on. This guy kept 100 rooms. Let's look at the county land and build a hotel there, the parking lot. And so I think in 10 years, you should be able to, collectively, we should be able to do that.
Thanks for clarifying that. I was a little distracted. I was thinking about that $35 million tax bill, so thank you.
You got to talk to the mayor.
All right, any other
He gets the
questions
tough
or
questions.
comments? Okay, well, thank you for that presentation. I'm sure that everybody here enjoyed hearing it and learning more about it.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, any comments from any of the public here? Ravi, anything I missed that we haven't gone over? Okay. And then to clarify, at this point, we are still planning on the first Wednesday of the month, correct?
That is correct. So the date that's on the agenda reflects that.
Okay.
So September 7th is the first Wednesday.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right. Thank you, everybody.